Okay, so today I want to share a story. I'm going to talk about something that I haven't really spent much time talking about on this channel before. I've shared stories about, time as a young musician, a young guitar player, how I found guitar, but this I haven't really talked about. And it's the story of the struggles that I went through as a young person growing up. I grew up just outside of Atlanta, Georgia, and in the early 90s, when I was young, I was diagnosed with ADHD and re-diagnosed as an adult. But in the 90s, in the American public school system, there wasn't a ton of support like there is now for people with learning disabilities like myself. And so at the time in school, I was sort of cast aside by my teachers and by the school system. I couldn't get the grades. I couldn't pay attention to class. I couldn't do the homework. I couldn't just stay focused. And no matter how hard I tried, from elementary all the way through high school and the 1 year of college that I went to, no matter how hard I tried, it never worked. I just always failed tests, always brought home bad grades. See, back during that time, the way my school system worked was kids like me with learning disabilities were put in special classes, special education classes. And I imagine some of you watching this video know exactly what I'm talking about. And so the idea was to give us the extra resources that we needed to succeed. I remember having to take classes like study skills, as if like learning in a class how to learn in a class was going to work. Completely stupid looking back on it. But what it did was essentially separate me from my peers, at least for me. It told me that I'm different. I'm not as good as my friends, even my best friends who are in the normal classes. And that all kind of came to a head when I was in 6th grade. I was doing really bad, and so my teachers called a meeting with my parents. And in that meeting, my teachers literally said, he doesn't have what it takes. He's not going to go to college. He's not going to basically make it. And you have to understand, for my parents, that was a very, very big deal. My mom and dad are incredible people. I grew up very lucky to have great parents. My mom, for those of you that know her, is the kindest, most generous, just beacon of light that you've met. And my dad is one of the most intelligent people I've ever met. He's incredibly generous. He's incredibly loving. And you have to understand that my parents were the first people in our entire family history to go to college. They were first generation college students. And my grandparents worked incredibly hard, burning the candle at both ends for their entire careers to make sure that my parents could go to college. It was that important for them. So when I was growing up, my parents saw college in the same light. They saw it as the thing. You have to go to college. You have to get a college degree so that you can go out and succeed. And success to them and success to my teachers at that time looked like getting a great 9-to-5 job at a corporation and earning $100,000 a year with a 401k and retiring at 65 and living your life out on a beach in Mexico or whatever. And for me, that is my idea of hell. Even as a young person in 6th grade, the idea of having to go to work every day, to work the same job, drive to the same office building, I would have rather done anything else than that. But there were no other options. Music, from my perspective, wasn't a thing. I wasn't playing guitar in 6th grade, and I don't come from a musical family. I don't come from a background of creative people or musicians. So you have to understand, my relationship with music was middle school band, where I was playing percussion for an hour a day. So this actually caused quite a bit of strife in my family growing up. It was a big, big struggle. My parents couldn't understand why I couldn't get good grades. There was a period of time where they thought that I was just being lazy and slacking off. And I couldn't understand that no matter how hard I tried, I just couldn't do the work. The education system, now looking back, I understand wasn't for me. They weren't catering to me because they didn't either know how or didn't care one way or another. But it caused a lot of issues between me and my parents growing up. I remember countless nights sitting on the kitchen table in literal tears because my dad, who was pretty tough and pretty stern at the time, was getting frustrated on why I couldn't understand my math homework and why I wasn't doing the math problems. Because for him, math is his thing. Numbers are his thing. And so, being a young parent, he couldn't understand why his son was not understanding the simple math equation. And I couldn't understand why my dad couldn't understand why I didn't get it. See, my dad is an electrical engineer by training. He is incredibly intelligent. He works in the telecommunications industry, working on these insanely complex systems. And it's actually very impressive. I'm really proud of what my dad has done in his career. And I love my dad. My dad is an amazing guy. But at the time, it was a huge struggle. And on top of all of that, sports were really important to my parents as well. They thought that there was a lot of value to be gained in me playing sports. And as a result, I played everything growing up. Every season, I was doing basketball, I was doing baseball, I was doing soccer, I swam one year. I mean, and oftentimes I was doing multiple sports at a time, and I absolutely hated it. With the burning passion of a billion suns, I hated, and still do, quite frankly, sports. Just every single day after being miserable in school, having to go and spend 2 or 3 hours being miserable on some stupid baseball field somewhere where I was just stuck in the outfield because I was basically a liability to every team I played. I'm not athletic. I'm not that coordinated, and I don't have the competitive drive. I never did. I don't care who wins. Even when I was playing on the teams, I had no care if we won or lost. My main objective was to not play, was to do everything I could to not be put in the game, to do as little practice as possible. And so all that stuff started to compound on itself. And I remember right around the time of middle school, just being really frustrated all the time, really, really frustrated. Frustrated with myself, frustrated with my parents, frustrated with my teachers. And as a young person being in 7th and 8th grade, sort of just at the end of my rope, like, what is the point of all this? I'm going to fail through school, and then I'm going to get out and I'm going to end up in some dead end job, and that's going to be my life. I remember thinking that at like 12 years old, that's what my life is going to be. I'm going to end up in some job that I hate, and I'm going to be miserable for the rest of my life trying to chase a dollar. But right around that time is when I started to discover music. And it wasn't guitar. I just started listening to stuff. I started hearing things on the radio that I really liked. And I had a neighbor across the street, my friend Mike, who was a year older than me, that started giving me CDs. He gave me The Wall by Pink Floyd. And I remember the first time I listened to The Wall. It absolutely blew my mind. As a 12, 13-year-old kid who had never heard Pink Floyd before, listening to The Wall from top to bottom completely blew my mind. Like, I didn't know you could do this. You could have songs that are not songs. It's just like people talking, and it's like there's like a skit. Is this like a play? Is this a movie? What is this? I don't understand this. And at the same time, Mike got a guitar. He got a blue Squier Strat and a little Behringer amp. And that was really the first time I remember seeing a guitar and thinking, whoa, that's cool. I want to do that. And I started asking my parents, can I get a guitar? Can I get a guitar? And their initial reaction was, no, we're not buying you a guitar. You're not going to play it. You're not going to do anything with it. You're just going to collect dust, like the saxophone that you played in elementary school and like the snare drum that you played in middle school. We're not getting a guitar. But thankfully, they had a change of heart. And my dad bought me my first guitar on Christmas Eve, actually, from Restoration Hardware, of all places. The Restoration Hardware at the Mall of Georgia, if anybody knows where that is. And that changed my life. I was obsessed with it. I remember just the first day of having it on Christmas Day, just holding it and looking at it and thinking like, oh my God, I have a guitar. This is the coolest thing ever. This is the nicest guitar that's ever been made. And immediately I started playing every single day. I had no idea what I was doing. I wasn't making good sounds or music. I was just playing the guitar. And for the first time in my life, I had something that clicked and something that I cared about and something that I was progressing at. I won't say I was good. I wasn't good at it, but it was something that I was making real improvement. I'd be sitting at school during the day and all I could think about was my guitar. As soon as I get home, I'm going to pick up my guitar and go play. And that's what I did for years, all through high school. I was just obsessed with it. And looking back now, I realized that even though I hated playing sports and even though I hated school growing up, I think there were some things that I learned playing those sports that made me a better guitar player. I think I learned about consistency. I think I learned about, repetition, doing the same thing over and over again, putting the work in, putting the hours in to get better. Even though I hated playing sports, I was getting better. I was gaining coordination. I was getting faster. I was staying in shape. I was being really active. It helped me with the hard, fine motor skills that you need to play an instrument like guitar and to play it well. And I didn't realize it. My parents didn't realize it at the time, but all those years spent playing sports, I think, really helped me out as a guitar player. I didn't have a teacher or anything, but I was excelling at it. I was learning, I was picking up quickly, and my parents, thankfully, saw that. And they noticed that, oh, this is his thing. Guitar is his thing. There's a few things that they did that I'm incredibly thankful for. One, they never took the guitar away from me. Even when I was grounded or I got in trouble at school or, got in trouble in the neighborhood or whatever it was, the guitar was never taken away. They'd take away the Xbox or whatever else, but they always let me have my guitar. And the other thing was they never told me to stop playing or told me to turn down. And I know that they wanted me to for a fact because it couldn't have sounded good and I was playing loud in my room, but they never came upstairs and told me, hey, that sounds bad, turn that down, because that would have shot my confidence down as a young person. Hearing that from your parents, the only people they're hearing you play guitar, like, shut all that crap up, I can't take it anymore. They never did that. And so as I started learning guitar going through high school, I was still kind of alone in this. None of my friends were into music. None of my friends played guitar. I actually didn't even know that many kids in my high school from 2004 to 2008 that were interested in guitar or guitar music. It was kind of just my own thing. I didn't have anyone to compare notes with or listen to records with or learn about gear. This is really before YouTube and before the internet. I didn't know about forums like the gear page. So I was learning how to play guitar, but I didn't know anything about guitar. I didn't know about Les Pauls and Strats, or I'd certainly never even touched a tube amp. I didn't even know what a tube amp was, or pedals. I was a junior or a senior in high school before I even knew what a pedal was, what it did. I mean, I was literally just playing my guitar into my modeling amp at home for all those years. I didn't know. And all the while I was playing guitar, still struggling in school. High school was absolute hell for me. And I remember my grandfather telling me one time, enjoy these years, enjoy high school, because these are going to be the best years of my life. And I remember thinking, oh my God, my life is gonna suck. If high school are the best years of my life, then Jesus, it's not looking good. Barely made it across the stage at graduation, and went to the one college that I got accepted to. I went there for a year and promptly failed out. I left that year with a GPA of a 0.7. It was below a 1.0 GPA. It was so bad that the college literally sent my parents a letter home saying he can't come back, his grades are not good enough. But during that time at college, that's when I really started to click with music and connect with music. I was playing my guitar all the time. I was playing out around the school, and I started to think, like, maybe there's a way I could do this. I think music is my thing. It's the only thing that I have. And so after I failed out of college, I remember seeing a commercial for Atlanta Institute of Music, and I decided to go. I took it upon myself to do everything I needed to do to get into that school. I filled out all the paperwork. I filled out financial aid, took out a student loan. I scheduled a tour, took my parents on a tour, and I, for the first time, took guitar lessons with an actual guitar teacher so that I could get ready for the entrance exam, because I knew nothing about music theory, but I ended up getting in. And once I got into AIM, once I got there, that was the first time in my life that school actually clicked, that I cared, that I was spending the time, I was studying. I was there early every day, and I would go home and practice till 1 or 2 in the morning every night. But it was still really hard. I wasn't good. I wasn't a good player. I didn't make good grades. I wasn't good with the theory and the harmony. I wasn't the best player by any means, but I was dedicated. I just stuck with it. And I made it through in a year, and I graduated. And that was 10 years ago now, 11 years ago now. And looking back, I'm incredibly thankful for everything that happened along the way. Even the bad stuff, I think it helped get me to where I am as a guitar player, as a musician, this YouTube channel. Every failure that I've had along the way has helped me get to where I am. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you. I know this is not typically what I do on this channel, but I felt the need to share this in hopes that maybe someone out there is watching and you might get something out of it. But that's my story. I just want to take this moment to say thank you to everyone who has been watching this channel over the last 4 years. YouTube is something that I had wanted to pursue for years and years. I love making videos. I love talking about stuff. I love teaching stuff. I love sharing knowledge. I love learning about stuff so that I can share it on this YouTube channel. It's made possible because you guys click on the videos and you watch them and you subscribe. Yeah, that's definitely not lost on me. I really appreciate the support that everyone has shown me over the last few years of doing this, and I plan on doing this as long as I can. So anyways, that's my story. Thank you guys for watching. My name is Rhett Shull, and remember, there is no plan B.